We're going to start diving into more advanced features such as lifecycle functions, the virtual DOM, and components. We're going to begin by talking about mounting the Vue instance. This topic is something we discussed briefly already, but I want to review the topic again. It's going to have relevance in the upcoming lecture. In the resource section of this lecture, I provide a zip file with everything you'll need. Download it, unzip the contents, and point your editor to those files. Pause the video if you need to. The files in this example don't contain a lot of code. It's a simple application. We have the div tag with the ID of app. Inside the element, we're rendering an expression. If we switch over to the script file, we'll find a new app being created. Inside the instance, we have the message data property set to a string value. Lastly, the CSS file contains some basic styles to help make things visually clearer. Just by looking at this code, you probably already know what to expect. The expression will be interpolated into the string "Hello World." I'll switch over to my browser, and sure enough, the message does get displayed. Everything works without a problem. The process of Vue inserting itself into the document is called mounting. The moment we see the expression interpolated into the document indicates that Vue has been mounted. Let's say we didn't want to mount the Vue instance right away. In some situations, we may want to mount the instance at a later time. We would want to mount the Vue instance later because we may want to load other modules before rendering the application to the user. In some cases, the element we want to render the application in may not be available initially. We'll want to defer Vue from starting the application. Back inside the editor, open the JavaScript file. We're telling Vue to mount itself to the div tag with the ID of app. We're going to remove the mount function we chained. Vue will still work. It'll continue to initialize itself with the data and methods. However, it will not get mounted to any element on the page. Therefore, we can't interact with the instance on the document. We can still interact with it via JavaScript, but the average user will not be able to unless they know JavaScript. By not mounting the application, it will not appear in the document. You may want to do this if you don't want the user to interact with the application right away, but will at a later time. Let's pretend the element we needed didn't appear until 3 seconds later. We're going to set up a set timeout function with a delay of 3000 milliseconds. Inside the callback function, we're going to call the mount method to insert the application into the document. The mount method doesn't always have to be chained after creating an app. We can call it at any point in time after the app was created. Alright, let's give things a test. Go ahead and refresh the page in the browser. Immediately, we'll see the expression on the document. It hasn't been interpolated yet. After 3 seconds, the set timeout function is triggered. The Vue instance gets mounted to the div tag with the ID of app. The mount method gives us the flexibility of presenting the application whenever we need to. Most of the time, you'll want to mount the application immediately, but it's always good to know you have an alternative if you ever need it. Back in the JavaScript file, I'm going to comment out the timeout code. We won't need to mount the application at a later time. We'll call the mount function after creating the instance. This isn't any different than chaining the function. However, I like to do this because it looks cleaner, in my opinion. Constantly chaining functions can be a bit confusing. Call the mount method however you prefer. That wraps it up for this lecture. We'll continue in the next one.